In SOG, we had some interesting experiences where, you know, sometimes you needed to drop in and have a talk with the bad guys and convince them to do things differently. There's a lot of different ways of getting to them. I've been working out of Atlanta, around Atlanta for quite a number of years. The traffic there is horrendous, and you get stuck in traffic. And one day I was thinking, this is not so bad. And I remembered this was a commute from the office back home. I had been at work, and I was commuting back home. And Eldon Bargewell was my 1-1, assistant team leader at this point. Him and 2 other guys had gone before us, and they've already been pulled through the canopy and being taken into a fire base. So everybody's excited at the fire base because we're coming from a direction nobody should be coming from, and we're hanging under a helicopter. So they were out watching. The guy on the bottom there is me. My 2 other teammates are both wounded, and the blood's dripping down on me. But to get there, all of a sudden, we're at 7,000 feet hanging under that helicopter, oscillating back and forth, and I'm looking up at my rope, and I'm seeing it start to fray on the edge of the helicopter. It's 7,000 feet to the ground. My radio's been, I was hit a couple of times in the radio, so the radio doesn't work. My survival radio in my shirt pocket got a big piece of shrapnel buried in it. It hit me right there. It's not working. I can't tell anybody in the helicopter I got a little issue here. So that just leaves me with the option of saying 7,000 feet, that's about a 30-second free fall. If I've got 30 seconds to play with, you know, I can flare out, I can do some turns, I can rotate, I can do some backflips before I impact. So sometimes you have to change your plans. Commute home is not always the way you might think it is. So no reserve in this case. You're going in. So now you tell us. So a friend of mine had gotten to Vietnam about 30 days or so before me, and when I got in country, he and I went to a little bar there at, in the train, and as we're consuming some philosophical nectar and talking, he said, tomorrow, when you go through your in-processing, at the end of the day, they're going to ask you if you want to volunteer for SOG. Do not volunteer for SOG. If you do, you will be dead. If you're not dead, you're going to have the crap shot out of you, and you'll be a nutcase. Do not volunteer for SOG. I'm 21 years old. And when the man says, I want you to volunteer to go anywhere, do anything, and not tell anybody for 20 years, I can do that. You know, because my prefrontal cortex hasn't developed yet. Risk taking, I don't know what that is. I can't evaluate risk. I think I'm going to live forever. So anyway, that's what I did. Sign me up. What am I going to do? Well, we can't tell you that. Why not? Because nobody knows until after they join, and then they tell you. But then you can't tell anybody. So nobody knows what's going to happen to you. We just probably won't ever see you again. So anyway, a little bit about that. And I ended up with a code name Dynamite, and that's where the book's name's coming from. A suggestion by Tilt when we were talking about what the title of the book might be. So MACV-SOG went out into the neighboring countries where we were not supposed to be, and ran missions to mess with the North Vietnamese out there, and raids, ambushes, prisoner snatches, pilot recovery, wiretaps, assassinations, all kinds of different cool things to do. The bottom line, go anywhere, do anything, don't talk about it, and you had to do it in a sterile fashion. Sterile meaning no dog tags, no ID card, nothing that says U.S. on anything that you have. You are out there on your own, completely denied by the U.S. government that they knew anything about it. So if you were caught, Geneva Convention didn't apply to you, you could be executed on the spot as a spy. So that made it more exciting. So what we did was, this is the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and North Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand. We would go over there and interdict the highway and do some other neat things, to the degree that they had to dedicate like 50,000 hardcore North Vietnamese troops to try to catch the SOG teams. So they had to divert a force that large into the area just to try to stop us. And they had special teams, SOG hunter-killer teams, that would come after us. And if this one plays for us, and it might, it's going to make a little noise maybe. Some of the things we would do is go in to a place where we could observe the highway, observe the North Vietnamese moving around, and then we would have our buddies from the Air Force come in and deliver little surprises. So Tilt would get on the radio and say, the building right over there has a NVA company in it. Take that one out. The building next to it has an NVA platoon in it. Take it out. And they like to take it out with, take them out with napalm. The Air Force really likes napalm. They like to put that stuff out there, so it works pretty good. So it's pretty neat to be setting up on the side of the hill, watching those targets that you've identified get hit. Yes, there's some more gone, Anyway, any quick questions about that before we get into more specifics? Okay. When I got to Phu at FOB1, I met a guy that, from my perspective, I thought he's too tall to be out here. Somebody that tall is going to get shot. So I figured I was better off. And people always say, I thought you'd be taller. I said, if I was a quarter of an inch taller, I'd be dead. I wouldn't be here. You'd have a different speaker today. I don't know how he survived. So, and he looks just like he did then. He hasn't changed a bit.
A few more wrinkles.
Yeah, he's a lot older than me. But anyway, one of the things that you'll notice about SOG people is these are SOG operators. And the reason they all look like they're about maybe 20 years old or so is because that's how old they are. Because, like me, their prefrontal cortex hadn't developed yet, so they would volunteer to go out and do that stuff. Russ Mann said, he's the one that, wrote that little statement. One of the things he said was, I've always told people the most dangerous men I ever knew were the nicest guys around until they put their work clothes on. And then they were not very nice.